On the line with us right now, Sydney, we have a New York State Assemblyman, a very important guy. His name is Kieran Lalor, and he is from the 105th District, and he's a little bit upset at the governor. He's right. He's going to tell us why. Good morning to you, Assemblyman Lalor.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Happy birthday to the Hebrew Hammer.
Thank you. I actually tweeted Kieran yesterday. I said, go get him tomorrow, because obviously me and Bernie are both lockstep with you in what you believe. So thank you for that. I appreciate that, buddy. Thanks.
And by the way,
no problem.
Thank you for your service. You're a United States Marine Corps reservist. And we just thank you for your service. I believe you were in Iraq.
Yep. I was a machine gunner in Iraq.
Wow.
Years ago.
Wow,
God
look
bless
at you, Kieran Lalor. And we'll get right to the meat of it here. We talked about it a bit, Bernie and I. What exactly are you angry about, besides the obvious, which is, well, felons probably shouldn't be able to vote?
Felons can vote, and that's well settled in New York State. Unfortunately, we could debate that. But what the governor did yesterday was, out of the blue, after being governor for 7.5 years, he joined with Al Sharpton, which tells you a lot about this situation, and said, now people on parolees, all of a sudden this year, in this election year, are going to have the right to vote. So it's the estimates are 35,000 to 40,000 parolees are going to be able to vote in this election. And I believe it's the price of Al Sharpton's support, both in the primary, the general election this year for Cuomo, and possibly the price of Al Sharpton's support in the 2020 Democrat primary for president.
And a high percentage of those 35,000 are, in fact, Kieran, African-American, and Latino, yes?
Yeah, they are. That's overwhelmingly from New York City. And I believe likely to vote, if they're going to vote, they're likely to vote for Democrats. I don't know that it skews the governor's election all that much, but the only check on the governor's power right now is the state Senate, and you could definitely see a state Senate seat in Westchester, where cities like New Rochelle are, places like that, flipping from Republican to Democrat. Some of the upstate Senate districts flipping and really upsetting the balance of power in New York State, and there will be no checks and balances without a Republican Senate.
Well, Assemblyman Kieran Lalor, listen, the argument is, and you can rebut it, and I know you will, that parolees, they paid their debt to society. They did their time, and they're out now. They're trying to reintegrate into society. What's the problem?
Yeah, but parolees have not paid their debt to society. They're still paying it. Parole is part of the punishment. So what the governor did, without the legislature, he could not get this through the legislature, unilaterally, he basically reduced the punishment for convicted felons all by himself. Because when you're on parole, that's part of punishment. You don't have Fourth Amendment rights. Your parole officer can come to your house, check you out. You have to pee in a cup. You have to do all these other things. You can't leave the state. So your debt is still being paid on parole. So people still, part of the correction system in this state, are going to be allowed to vote.
So clarify this, because you're right. You still have to meet with somebody every single week.
You're still under supervision.
That's right. Once they're done with parole, even if they are convicted felons, you're okay with them voting. That's the law, obviously. You're okay with that. But as long as they're still under the supervision of parole, you don't think they should be able to vote?
I'd rather not have felons vote, but
me too.
That's not going to be debated right now in New York State.
It's already out
there. We
there.
have the votes for that. But this is a bridge too far. That he did it with Al Sharpton. That he came out. He claims, I've been trying privately to get this through the legislature for the last 7.5 years. Yesterday he said it's unconscionable that parolees can't vote in New York State. Well, you've been governor for 7.5 years. If you truly have the power to unilaterally allow them to vote, what are you waiting for? And California doesn't allow parolees to vote. New Jersey doesn't allow parolees to vote. Next door in Connecticut, they don't allow parolees to vote. Those are liberal strongholds there. Are things unconscionable there? I don't think so.
No, you're right about that. I think there was about 7 or 9 states that do allow it. But whatever it is, the way he went about it, he went around, and the duly elected representatives of the state wouldn't pass it. And he just signs an executive order and says, screw the voters, I'm going to go and allow this to happen. And Assemblyman Kieran Lalor, my question is this in response to the Cynthia Nixon challenge pulling him to the left?
100%. If Cynthia Nixon was not running in the primary and he didn't get that scare from Zephyr Teachout 4 years ago in the Democrat primary, this would not be happening. This is a direct result of that. It's politics. People say, it's good for democracy to let parolees vote. You know what's good for democracy? Abiding by checks and balances and separation of powers and not bypassing the legislature. And you know what's good for democracy? Not deciding who can vote and who can't vote for political and electoral reasons in an election year. Those are things that are good for democracy.
Couldn't agree more. But what's kind of surprising to me, Kieran, we talked about this with O'Reilly yesterday too, is the numbers right now have Cuomo just pounding Cynthia Nixon. She'll be lucky to get 25% of the vote. So my question is, he's obviously running scared. He's changed his mind on marijuana, things like this. Why is he freaking out when, in fact, it looks like he's going to crush her?
You know, she's new on the political scene. She's able to get national media in a way that another candidate couldn't. She's on Colbert last night. Cuomo, everyone knows since the minute he was born, has presidential aspirations. So if he has another, 60-40 Democrat primary in his own state, he's really not that viable to be a Democrat contender for the presidency. And, Cuomo's a miserable SOB. He wants to crush his opponents, not just beat them.
Yeah, and he's a half a dunce, too, by the way. Look, this sort of epiphany he had, the Cynthia Nixon-inspired epiphany on legalizing marijuana, that's a similar thing as well. Am I wrong about that?
No doubt about it. And my hope as a Republican, as a conservative, is these two lefties push themselves so far to the left, they fall off the cliff and make it possible for a Republican to win the governor's mansion this year.
We're becoming California here in New
basically,
York
yes.
State.
I mean, he is a dunce, and we make fun of him all the time. Bernie actually does a very, very good impression. But when you look at the landscape, you brought it up, Kieran, about running for president. When you look at the folks that may run against Trump in 2020, and they may have some secret weapon out there, maybe Oprah, who knows. But when you look at the folks we know, Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, you think a guy like Cuomo actually becomes a decent chance to win if, in fact, those are the only names that they bring out.
It's definitely a surprisingly weak field. He's a contender. There are people who still wish that Mario Cuomo ran for president 30 years ago, so he's definitely a contender. But I don't think he plays well in the Midwest, in the South. If you ever listen, for some reason, Mario Cuomo was the son of immigrants, and he spoke to Queen's English. And Andrew Cuomo, who grew up in privilege, the son of a governor, speaks like Donnie Brasco. I don't know why that is.
He does. Like Al Pacino. He sounds like Serpico.
I'm going to legalize marijuana. Hey, listen, how ridiculous was he with the anti-gun protests, squirming around on the floor like a moron with those kids? Remember that in Manhattan, this guy, this pandering idiot?
That was an embarrassment to the state of New York, to the office of governor. And that is actually linked to this conversation that we're having about parolees, because Cuomo's parole board appointees, and I know you guys have talked about this, they're letting cop killers out. He pardoned Judith Clark, or commuted her sentence, so she's now eligible for parole. So mass killers are getting out of jail in Cuomo's New York, and he's laying down in the street to protest mass killings. Well, how about you do job one and keep the mass killers in jail in the first place, and then maybe you wouldn't have to roll around and play
absolutely
on the sidewalk.
Yeah, this would effectively, if Herman Bell does get out, this will effectively give him the right to vote.
Right.
I mean, this is pretty sick.
Yeah, getting out.
But 100%. And if you're a good, decent person and you're out there voting and you vote differently than one of these parolees, a killer, a rapist, they're canceling out your vote.
Yes. Hey, Assemblyman Kieran, we're out of time. Kieran Lalor, I like you, man. Iraq War vet. And I like the way you talk, bro.
And before we let him go, he does have a book out, Bernie. It's been out for about 8 years.
Yes,
it's called This Recruit, a first-hand account of Marine Corps boot camp, written while knee-deep in mayhem. Hey, thank you very much, Assemblyman. Thank you very much.
Yeah, congrats on the new show. Hey, you've had a president, you've had a New York State Assemblyman on, you've done it all. What's that, Queen of England?
Actually, my wife was on this morning, too. So
there we go. We spanned again. Hey, listen, thank you. Assemblyman Kieran Lalor on the Bernie and Sid in the Morning Show. We're coming right back.
Bernie and Sid in the morning.